My chosen one, every chain that ever held you was temporary, even the ones that felt permanent. Enemy forces convinced you that some bondage cannot be broken, that certain fears are part of who you are, that particular wounds will never fully heal. Dark voices showed you evidence. Deceptive whispers pointed to calendar days. Lying spirits reminded you how long you have carried this burden and suggested that duration equals permanence. But all of them lied. Every single voice lied about what was binding you. All opposition lied about my power to set you free. Each demonic suggestion lied about timing of your liberation. Look at how sophisticated these lies became in your life. Enemy did not approach you with obvious deception that you would immediately reject. Instead, he wrapped lies in partial truths that made them seem reasonable. He pointed to real challenges you were facing and convinced you that those challenges defined your limitations. He showed you genuine obstacles and persuaded you that obstacles were permanent walls rather than temporary barriers waiting to be overcome. When you faced rejection from people whose acceptance you needed, enemy whispered that rejection revealed something fundamentally unacceptable about your character. When opportunities closed in ways that disappointed your hopes, lying voices suggested that closed doors proved you were not qualified for blessing. When relationships ended in betrayal or abandonment, deceptive spirits convinced you that pattern would repeat indefinitely because something in you attracted dysfunctional people. Each lie was carefully crafted to seem logical based on available evidence. Each deceptive suggestion was designed to feel like reasonable conclusion based on what you had experienced. Each false narrative was constructed to appear wise and protective, as if accepting limitation was actually a form of intelligent self-preservation that would save you from future disappointment. But truth is completely different from what enemy convinced you to believe. Truth is that every challenge you faced was temporary condition, not permanent identity marker. Every obstacle you encountered was situation to be solved, not sentence to be served. Every rejection you endured was redirection toward better alignment, not verdict on your worthiness. Every closed door was protection from something that would have harmed your future, not punishment for past mistakes. Today, I am dismantling lies that have kept you imprisoned. Not tomorrow, not in some distant season when you finally deserve freedom. Today, while you listen to these words, while my voice penetrates darkness you have been living in, while my presence floods every area where fear has been making its home, I am your freedom's architect. I designed you to live unrestrained by limitations that others accepted for themselves. Built into your foundation is capacity to break through barriers that have stopped generations before you. Planted in your spirit is courage to attempt things that practical people considered impossible. Placed in your bones is resilience to stand when everything around you suggests that falling is only reasonable option. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Depression you battled was developing determination you did not know you possessed. Each morning when getting out of bed felt like climbing mountain, you were building endurance that will serve you for lifetime. Each day when forcing smile required heroic effort, you were developing ability to choose hope over circumstances that will become automatic response in future challenges. Each night when sleep seemed impossible because worry consumed your thoughts, you were learning to find rest in my presence rather than in absence of problems. Anxiety that tormented you was forging discernment that will protect you for all remaining days of life. Racing thoughts that kept you awake, or actually training your mind to recognize patterns and possibilities that less vigilant people miss entirely. Nervous energy that made you feel restless was developing sensitivity to spiritual atmospheres that will enable you to pray effectively for situations before they become crises. Hyper-awareness that felt like burden was building capacity for wisdom and insight that will benefit everyone around you. Rejection you endured was eliminating your need for validation from sources that were never qualified to define your worth. Each person who walked away from relationship with you was actually removing obstacle to better relationships that were waiting to enter your life. Each organization that denied you opportunity was preventing you from settling for position that was beneath what I had planned for your career. Each group that excluded you was protecting you from associations that would have compromised your character or delayed your destiny. Betrayal you survived was teaching you to distinguish between authentic relationship and manipulation disguised as connection. Pain of discovering that someone you trusted was actually working against your interests was education for recognizing similar patterns before they can cause damage in future. Shock of realizing that person you loved was capable of deliberate cruelty was preparation for setting healthy boundaries with people who have not learned to handle relationships responsibly. None of it was random. None of it was meaningless. All of it was preparation for what I am about to release in your life. During every difficult season, while you were focused on surviving from day to day, I was working in dimensions beyond your awareness to arrange circumstances for your advantage. When you felt forgotten and alone, I was positioning people who would become your strongest allies. When opportunities seemed scarce and closed, I was creating better opportunities that would open precisely when you were ready to receive them. When resources appeared limited and insufficient, I was multiplying seeds you had planted in previous seasons, so they would produce harvest exactly when you needed provision. I have been constructing something magnificent in secret places, while you felt like everything was falling apart in visible places. While you were crying in darkness, I was laying foundations in invisible realms that will support enormity of blessings you cannot yet imagine. While you were questioning whether I had forgotten about you, I was assembling materials for breakthrough that will silence every voice that ever suggested you were not equipped for victory. Consider how master architects approach designing buildings that must withstand extreme conditions. Before drawing single line on blueprint, they study environment where structure will be built, soil composition that will support foundation, weather patterns that will test exterior materials, seismic activity that could threaten stability, wind forces that will push against walls, water flow that could cause flooding, temperature variations that will expand and contract materials. All of this research is essential because buildings that ignore environmental realities fail when conditions become challenging. Structures that look impressive during calm weather collapse during storms if they were not designed to handle stress. Beautiful buildings become death traps if architects did not account for forces that would test their integrity. When I designed your life, I knew every storm that would come against you. I understood every pressure that would test your faith. I anticipated every attack that enemy would launch against your peace. I prepared for every challenge that would demand more strength than you thought you possessed. Nothing has caught me by surprise. Nothing has exceeded my planning capacity. Nothing has proven stronger than what I built into your foundation. Scaffolding comes down now. Construction is complete. What has been hidden from your view is about to become unmistakably visible. You will see fortresses I have built around your life, walls of protection that no weapon can penetrate, towers of strength that elevate you above every circumstance that once threatened to overwhelm you. gates of opportunity that open at your approach because I have given you keys, chambers of provision where every need finds its supply, gardens of restoration where everything stolen from you grows back multiplied. These fortresses were not built quickly. Structures designed to last forever require time to establish properly. Every stone was selected specifically for unique pressures your life would face. Every beam was positioned to support particular dreams I planted in your spirit. Every wall was reinforced to withstand exact attacks that would come against you. Enemies studied you, but I designed you. His strategies are temporary. My architecture is eternal. All that sorrow was always building strength. Walk with me through fortresses I have completed for you. In eastern walls, I have embedded every prayer you thought I did not hear. Precious words shine like jewels because they were offered when offering them cost you something. When you prayed from abundance, prayers were beautiful. When you prayed from desperation, prayers became materials for supernatural intervention. Every midnight cry for help that seemed to echo into empty silence actually reached my throne and moved my heart to action on your behalf. Every tearful petition for healing that appeared to produce no visible change was working in invisible realms to prepare your body for restoration that would be complete and permanent rather than temporary and partial. Every desperate plea for financial provision that felt ignored was arranging multiple streams of supply that would flow into your life at precisely right timing. Every prayer for relationship healing that seemed to fall on deaf ears was working to remove people who would have damaged your future and preparing space for relationships that will honor your heart and support your purpose. Every request for direction during seasons of confusion was positioning opportunities and closing off paths that would have led you away from your destiny. Every cry for strength during moments of weakness was building capacity for strength that would never fail you again. I have collected all these prayers. None were lost. None were forgotten. None were insignificant. Each one was precious to me because it represented your willingness to maintain communication with me, even when circumstances made my presence difficult to perceive. Each one demonstrated faith that refused to quit, even when answers seemed delayed beyond reasonable expectation. In northern walls, I have displayed every tear that fell from your eyes in secret. Not one was wasted. Each droplet watered ground where impossible things take root. Tears of frustration became channels of breakthrough. Tears of loneliness created space for divine companionship that will never leave you empty again. Tears of disappointment washed away expectations that were too small for what I actually intended to give you. Tears you shed in bathroom stalls when you could not let anyone see how much you were hurting were especially precious to me because they represented your determination to keep functioning, even when pain threatened to overwhelm your capacity to cope. Tears that fell silently during conversations with people who had no idea what you were carrying internally were treasures because they showed your strength in protecting others from burdens that were not theirs to bear. Tears that soaked your pillowcase during nights when sleep would not come and worry consumed your thoughts were investments in peace that will guard your mind for the rest of your life. Each tear represented surrender of control over circumstances that were beyond your ability to manage. Each drop was evidence of your willingness to trust me with outcomes that you could not guarantee through your own efforts. Tears of grief over dreams that seemed to die were actually watering seeds for dreams that were much larger and more beautiful than what you thought you lost. Tears of anger over injustices that went unaddressed were creating passion for righteousness. that will drive you to champion causes that matter to my heart. Tears of fear about futures that seemed uncertain were developing confidence in my ability to work good outcomes from circumstances that appear completely unpromising. Western walls contain something that will astound you completely. Built from every failure that once convinced you that you were not qualified for blessing. Every mistake you thought disqualified you. Every stumble that made you question whether you were worthy of grace. I have transformed them all into materials for victory. Your failures have become foundations for faith that cannot be shaken. Your mistakes have become monuments to mercy that will encourage others for generations. Business ventures that collapsed taught you lessons about wisdom and discernment that will guarantee success in ventures I am preparing for you. Relationships that ended in disappointment educated you about character qualities to look for and warning signs to avoid in future relationships. Educational pursuits that did not produce expected results developed discipline and perseverance that will serve you in every area of life. Financial decisions that resulted in loss created humility and dependence on my provision, rather than confidence in your own planning ability. Career choices that led to dead ends protected you from paths that would have satisfied you temporarily, but prevented you from discovering purposes that will fulfill you eternally. Geographic moves that seemed like mistakes positioned you to meet people and learn skills that will prove essential for your future. Each failure taught you something you could not have learned through success. Each mistake revealed character weaknesses that needed to be strengthened before you could handle greater responsibilities. Each stumble developed resilience and humility that will keep you grounded when blessing begins to flow in abundance. Southern walls display strength you developed when you thought you were too weak to continue. When circumstances pressed against you with force that seemed designed to crush your spirit, you did not realize that you were not just surviving pressure, you were being forged by it. Every day you got up when getting up felt impossible. You were adding another layer of resilience to character that would eventually become unbreakable. Mornings when depression made your bed feel like safest place in world, but you forced yourself to get up anyway. Built discipline that will enable you to pursue goals even when motivation is absent. Afternoons when anxiety made every task feel overwhelming, but you completed necessary responsibilities anyway. Developed capacity to function effectively under pressure that will serve you in high-stakes situations. Evenings when loneliness made you want to isolate completely, but you chose to maintain connections with people who cared about you. Strengthened relationship skills that will enable you to build healthy community around your life. Nights when worry made sleep seem impossible, but you chose to pray instead of panic, created spiritual habits that will anchor you during future challenges. Conversations with people who were unreasonable or hostile, but you responded with kindness anyway, developed emotional maturity that will enable you to navigate difficult personalities without losing your peace. Situations that demanded more patience than you thought you possessed, but you persevered anyway, built capacity for long-term thinking that will enable you to complete projects that require sustained effort over extended periods. Stand in center courtyards of these fortresses and understand what I have accomplished through your willingness to endure what you could not understand. Every room surrounds you with evidence that nothing in your life was wasted. Every space testifies that I use all things, even painful things, to construct something beautiful. Every corner declares that your story is not defined by what happened to you, but by what I built through you. Enemy tried to destroy you with very experiences I was using to develop you. He interpreted your trials as evidence of my abandonment. I used those same trials as raw materials for your advancement. He saw your struggles as proof of your inadequacy. I used your struggles as opportunities to prove my sufficiency through your weakness. What enemy meant for destruction, I used for construction. What he intended to tear down, I incorporated into blueprints. What he designed to stop you became very thing that prepared you for unstoppable forward motion. Every moment of that sorrow was forging strength. Now let me tell you about spiritual transformations that were taking place in invisible dimensions while you were focused on surviving visible challenges. While you were wondering if you would ever feel normal again, I was rewiring neural pathways in your brain to respond to stress with peace instead of panic. While you were struggling to maintain faith during disappointments, I was strengthening spiritual muscles that will carry you through any future crisis without breaking. During seasons when you felt like you were barely holding on, cellular regeneration was taking place at levels deeper than medical science can detect. Old patterns of thinking that had limited your potential for decades were being systematically dismantled and replaced with thought processes aligned with my truth about who you are and what you are capable of accomplishing. While you were crying yourself to sleep wondering if pain would ever end, I was performing emotional surgery that removed scar tissue from wounds that had been festering for years. While you were forcing yourself to get through each day without any idea where strength was coming from, I was building spiritual infrastructure that will support you through challenges much greater than anything you have faced so far. Subconscious programming that had been installed during childhood experiences with people who did not know how to love you properly was being systematically identified and rewritten with truth about your value and potential. Defense mechanisms that had protected you during seasons when protection was necessary, but were now preventing you from receiving blessing, were being carefully removed and replaced with healthy boundaries based on wisdom rather than fear. Spiritual gifts that had been dormant because trauma had buried them under layers of self-protection were being awakened and activated. Creative abilities that had been suppressed because criticism had convinced you they were not valuable enough to develop were being restored and enhanced. Leadership qualities that had been hidden because rejection had taught you to stay invisible were being brought to surface and prepared for expression. During every hour when you wondered if you were strong enough to continue, supernatural strength was being deposited into your spirit that will be available for rest of your life. During every day when hope felt like luxury you could not afford, supernatural hope was being woven into fabric of your character so tightly that no future circumstance will be able to separate you from confidence in my goodness. Every bit of that sorrow was forging strength. Tools change now. For years you have been equipped with instruments of endurance. Patience when you needed to wait. Faith when you could not see. Hope when evidence suggested despair was more reasonable. All these tools served their purpose during construction phases. Each one kept you alive when enemy was trying to eliminate you. Every instrument sustained you when circumstances were trying to starve you. All of them protected you when forces were gathering to destroy you. But construction is complete. Tools change from defensive to offensive, from enduring to advancing, from surviving to thriving, from holding on to breaking through. I am placing in your hands hammers of authority that shatter every limitation that once contained you. When you speak my word into situations that seem impossible, walls of opposition will crumble. When you declare my promises over circumstances that appear hopeless, chains of bondage will break. When you pray my will into environments that resist change, atmospheres will shift to accommodate my purposes. Authority you now carry is not based on your education, your experience, or your natural abilities. It flows from intimate relationship you developed with me during seasons when no one else was available to help you. It springs from trust you learned to place in my character when circumstances gave you no logical reason to trust anything or anyone. It grows from faith you chose to maintain, even when maintaining faith felt like choosing to be disappointed again. When you walk into rooms where fear has been controlling conversations, fear will have to leave. When you enter situations where hopelessness has been defining outcomes, hope will begin to rise in people who had given up expecting things to change. When you speak truth into environments where lies have been accepted as reality, truth will prove itself more powerful than deception. Saws of discernment that cut through confusion and reveal truth with precision. You will no longer be deceived by appearances that contradict reality. You will see through manipulation attempts before they can influence your decisions. You will recognize divine opportunities even when they arrive disguised as ordinary circumstances. You will distinguish between people who genuinely support your success and people who secretly hope for your failure. Discernment you now possess was sharpened through experiences with people who were not what they appeared to be. Each time someone gained your trust through false presentation and then revealed their true character, your spiritual radar was being calibrated to detect similar deception in future encounters. Each betrayal that caught you off guard was education for recognizing warning signs that you had missed because you wanted to believe best about people. Levels of wisdom that ensure everything you build from this point forward rests on solid ground. Before making major decisions, you will receive clear guidance about which options align with my plans for your life. Before entering new relationships, you will understand which people will honor your heart and which people will use your trust for their advantage. Before pursuing opportunities, you will know which doors lead to advancement and which doors lead to distraction. Wisdom you now access flows from intimacy with my spirit that was developed during seasons when you had no one else to turn to for guidance. When human advisors were unavailable or unreliable, you learned to seek my counsel and wait for my direction. When circumstances forced you to make choices that would affect your future, but information was incomplete, you developed skill for hearing my voice above all other voices, measuring tapes of understanding that prevent you from accepting anything smaller than what I have prepared for you. You will no longer settle for relationships that diminish your joy, or opportunities that insult your potential, or living situations that compromise your peace. Standards I have placed in your spirit will protect you from agreements that benefit others at your expense. Understanding of your true worth was established through seasons when you were valued incorrectly by people who did not have capacity to recognize what they were seeing when they looked at you. Each time someone treated you as less valuable than you actually are, I was building internal compass that would guide you away from similar relationships in future. Each opportunity that insulted your capabilities was preparation for recognizing and rejecting offers that are beneath what I have prepared for your career. You will use these tools to dismantle structures that have stood in your community for generations. Poverty mindsets that convinced families they were destined for lack. Addiction patterns that consumed potential before it could develop. Relationship cycles that repeated dysfunction because no one knew how to construct something different. Educational barriers that kept entire bloodlines from accessing opportunities. Spiritual bondage that prevented people from experiencing freedom I died to provide. When you walk into environments where these destructive patterns have been operating for decades, Your presence will begin to break their power. Your testimony will give people permission to expect different outcomes than their families have experienced. Your example will demonstrate that impossible situations can change when approached with faith rather than resignation. Generational curses that have limited your family line for centuries lose their power when they encounter someone who has learned to operate from position of victory rather than position of defeat. Financial struggle patterns that have affected your bloodline for generations break when they meet someone who understands that provision flows from divine source rather than human effort alone. Relationship dysfunction cycles that have repeated through multiple generations stop when they encounter someone who has learned healthy ways to connect with others. You are not just receiving breakthrough, you are becoming one. You are not just experiencing liberation, you are becoming an agent of liberation for others. You are not just moving into blessing, you are becoming blessing that creates more blessing wherever you go. Fortresses protect you from attacks, but you will not remain inside walls. You will go out equipped with unshakable confidence because you know what you carry. You will advance with supernatural boldness because you understand what backs you. You will engage impossible situations with divine authority because you have learned difference between my voice and voice of limitation. When people see transformation in your life, they will want to know what happened. When they observe peace that guards you in circumstances that once would have destroyed that peace, they will ask for your secret. When they witness provision that flows toward you from sources you did not create, they will want to understand principles you are operating by. You will tell them about architects who never build anything temporary, about contractors who never cut corners when eternal things are at stake, about foundations that go deeper than any storm can reach, about materials that grow stronger under pressure instead of weaker, about blueprints that account for every challenge before first stones are laid. Your story will become their hope. Your fortress will become their inspiration to believe that what I did for you, I can do for them. Your breakthrough will give them permission to expect their own breakthrough. Your liberation will convince them that their chains are also temporary. That painful season was developing unbreakable strength. This is why enemy fought so hard to convince you that seasons would never end. He knew what I was creating in invisible realms while you struggled in visible realms. He understood that your endurance during construction phases was developing capacity for blessing phases. He recognized that your willingness to trust me in darkness was forging faith that would move mountains in light. Every attack against you was actually confirmation of magnitude of what I was preparing for you. Enemy does not waste energy on people who are destined for mediocrity. He reserves his most intense opposition for ones who carry potential to transform entire regions through their obedience to my will. Intensity of what you survived was proportionate to impact you will have. Depth of your testing was preparation for height of your testimony. Duration of your trial was necessary to build endurance required for marathon of blessing I am placing you into. You are stepping now from seasons of construction into seasons of occupation, from times of preparation into times of manifestation, from periods of development into periods of demonstration. Everything changes. Pace changes, perspective changes, provision changes. Opposition changes because you change. What once intimidated you now inspires you because you understand that challenges are opportunities for me to demonstrate my power through your faith. What once worried you now motivates you because you know that obstacles are invitations for breakthrough that will benefit generations beyond yourself. What once overwhelmed you now energizes you because you have learned that my strength is perfected in your weakness. You will look back on these seasons of transition as instants when everything shifted from impossible to inevitable, when ceilings that limited your thinking were removed and replaced with skies that have no boundaries, when walls that contained your expectations collapsed and revealed horizons you had never imagined, when doors that seemed permanently locked swung open and invited you into territories you were born to possess. Every painful experience was developing inner strength. Let me show you something else about what has been taking place during these construction seasons. While you were focused on surviving day by day, I was installing spiritual infrastructure in your life that will support miraculous operations for decades to come. While you were wondering if you could endure another week of difficulty, I was laying spiritual foundations that will carry enormity of generational blessings. Consider how master builders approach massive construction projects. Before anyone sees impressive structures rising above ground, teams of engineers spend months or even years preparing underground systems, electrical grids that will power every light and appliance, plumbing networks that will supply fresh water and remove waste, communication systems that will connect every room to outside world, structural supports that will bear weight of everything built above. All of this invisible work is absolutely essential, but people walking past construction sites cannot see any of it happening. What they observe is dirt being moved, holes being dug, concrete being poured into shapes that make no obvious sense. To casual observers, it appears that nothing meaningful is being accomplished. Months pass with no visible progress toward anything that looks like finished building. But master builders know that everything visible depends entirely on everything invisible. Strongest buildings in the world are strong because their invisible systems were installed with precision and patience. Most beautiful buildings in the world are beautiful because their underground infrastructure was built to support beauty without compromise. During your season of sorrow, I was installing spiritual infrastructure that will support life of extraordinary beauty and strength. While you were crying, I was laying electrical systems that will power supernatural operations in your life. While you were struggling to understand why certain things were taking so long, I was installing communication networks that will connect you to divine resources without delay or interruption, plumbing systems that will carry fresh supply of peace, joy, hope, and wisdom into every area of your life, while removing toxic emotions, destructive thought patterns, and relationship poison that has been contaminating your environment. Structural supports that will bear weight of blessings so large that your previous foundation would have collapsed under their magnitude. All of that work is complete now. Infrastructure is in place. Systems have been tested and proven functional. What was invisible during construction phase is about to become visible during operation phase. All that difficulty was building spiritual strength. Now I want to tell you about specific systems I have installed in your life during this construction period. First, I have given you discernment system that operates automatically to protect you from deception. You will no longer be vulnerable to manipulation from people who know how to say things you want to hear while planning to use your trust for their advantage. Your spirit will detect manipulation before your mind has time to analyze what is happening. Red flags will appear in your consciousness whenever someone approaches you with hidden agendas. This discernment system was developed through painful experiences with people who betrayed your trust. Each betrayal was actually training exercise for spiritual senses I was developing in you. Each disappointment with people who turned out to be different than they presented themselves was education for intuitive wisdom I was building into your character. Each time you trusted someone who proved unworthy of that trust, I was calibrating spiritual radar that will protect you from similar mistakes in future. Second, I have installed provision system that will create multiple streams of supply in your life. You will no longer be dependent on single source of income or single relationship or single opportunity for your security. Doors will open in industries you never considered. People will invite you into projects you never imagined. Resources will flow toward you from directions you did not know existed. This provision system was developed through seasons when your normal sources of supply were reduced or eliminated entirely. Each time you faced financial pressure, I was teaching you to look beyond obvious sources for your needs. Each time relationship disappointment left you feeling isolated, I was expanding your capacity to receive from my direct supply, rather than depending entirely on human sources. Each time opportunity seemed closed off, I was preparing you to recognize and receive from supernatural sources that never run dry. Third, I have given you strength system that will sustain you through challenges that would have overwhelmed you in previous seasons. You will find yourself carrying loads that once would have crushed you. You will face opposition that once would have intimidated you into retreat. You will persist through difficulties that once would have convinced you to quit. This strength system was forged through experiences that demanded more endurance than you thought you possessed. Each trial that lasted longer than you expected was building physical, emotional, and spiritual muscle that will serve you for the rest of your life. Each situation that required you to keep going when quitting felt more reasonable was developing character qualities that cannot be built through easy circumstances. Every trial was forging unbreakable strength. Fourth, I have installed authority system that will cause doors to open and obstacles to move when you speak in my name. Your words will carry power they never carried before. Your prayers will produce results with speed that will surprise you. Your declarations will shift spiritual atmospheres in rooms you enter. This authority system was developed through seasons when you felt powerless and voiceless. Each time you had to endure situations you could not change, I was teaching you the difference between human power and divine authority. Each time you faced opposition that was stronger than your natural abilities to overcome, I was preparing you to operate from spiritual position rather than human position. Each experience of being unable to fix things through your own effort was education for learning to access my power through faith and obedience. Fifth, I have given you wisdom system that will provide understanding for complex situations without requiring years of study or experience. Solutions will come to you for problems that baffle experts. Insights will arise in your mind for challenges that others have struggled with for years. Clarity will emerge for decisions that once would have paralyzed you with uncertainty. This wisdom system was developed through seasons when you had to make important decisions with insufficient information. Each time you had to choose direction without being able to see all possible outcomes, I was teaching you to trust divine guidance rather than depending entirely on human analysis. Each situation that forced you to act on faith rather than certainty was training for accessing supernatural wisdom that surpasses human understanding. Sixth, I have installed compassion system that will enable you to minister healing to others who carry wounds similar to ones you have healed from. Your pain will become platform for delivering hope to people who are still trapped in places you have been delivered from. Your testimony will unlock prisons that have held other people captive for years. This compassion system was developed through your own healing process. Each layer of your own pain that I have restored has become doorway through which my healing can flow to others. Each breakthrough you have experienced in your own life has equipped you to guide others through similar breakthroughs. Each victory you have won over fear, depression, addiction, or relationship dysfunction has prepared you to help others win similar victories. Those painful seasons were developing strength. Seventh, I have given you a peace system that will keep you calm and focused during crises that send other people into panic. Storm winds that destabilize others will not disturb your inner equilibrium. News that terrifies communities will not steal your confidence in my ultimate control over all circumstances. This peace system was developed through experiences that tested your ability to trust me when situations appeared completely out of control. Each crisis that arrived without warning was opportunity for learning to anchor your stability in my character rather than in circumstances. Each emergency that required you to choose between fear and faith was education for developing unshakable confidence in my ability to work good outcomes from seemingly impossible situations. Eighth, I have installed joy system that will enable you to maintain gladness and gratitude even during seasons that test your faith. You will find reasons to celebrate when others can find only reasons to complain. You will discover beauty in places where others see only problems. You will experience hope when others experience only desperation. This joy system was forged through seasons when choosing joy required deliberate discipline rather than natural inclination. Each day when you had to decide to praise me despite painful circumstances was building capacity for supernatural joy that does not depend on external conditions. Each time you chose to focus on blessings rather than problems was developing character quality that will serve you and others for generations. Infrastructure is complete. Systems are operational. Construction phase is finished. Occupation phase begins now. Every hardship was building supernatural strength. Everything I have told you about spiritual systems and infrastructure leads to this crucial understanding. You are not just receiving personal blessing. You are being prepared to become source of blessing for multitudes of other people. Your healing will facilitate healing for others. Your breakthrough will create pathways for breakthrough that will benefit people you have never met. I am positioning you strategically in places where your influence will reach people who need to see evidence that impossible situations can change. Your story will convince skeptics that divine intervention is not outdated religious concept, but present reality available to anyone willing to trust me with their circumstances. Through your testimony, marriages that seem beyond hope will be restored. Through your example, people trapped in addiction cycles will find strength to choose freedom. Through your prayers, financial impossibilities will become financial testimonies. Through your faith, medical diagnoses will be overturned. Through your obedience, family relationships that have been broken for generations will be healed. You are becoming answer to prayers that other people have been praying for years. You are becoming fulfillment of promises that I made to people who are still waiting for evidence that I keep my word. You are becoming proof that no situation is too difficult for divine intervention to resolve. When people ask you what changed in your life, you will tell them about seasons of sorrow that were actually seasons of strength being built inside you. You will explain how I used every painful experience as raw material or constructing miracle-working faith. You will describe how difficulties that seemed designed to destroy you were actually designed to develop you into someone who could carry authority to destroy those same difficulties in other people's lives. Your fortress stands complete. Tools are in your hands. Authority has been transferred. Seasons have shifted. Construction is finished. Occupation begins now. Enter lands I have prepared for you. Walk through doors I have opened for you. Take possession of inheritances I have reserved for you. Receive blessings I have built for you. Experience freedom I have constructed for you. What was broken is restored. What was stolen is returned. What was lost is recovered. What was damaged is rebuilt better than it was originally. What was delayed arrives at perfect instance. What was denied becomes abundant beyond your ability to contain it all. Sorrow lifts. Strength remains. Fortresses protect. Futures unfold. Breakthroughs manifest. Victory belongs to you because you belong to me. All those struggles were building strength within you. Now I want to speak specifically to different areas where you have felt defeated and show you how victory is manifesting in each one. In your finances, where scarcity convinced you that enough was never possible, I am opening streams of provision that will flow from sources you never considered. Businesses will seek your consultation. Investment opportunities will present themselves at precisely right timing. Skills you developed during difficult seasons will become valuable resources that generate income in ways you never imagined. In your relationships, where betrayal taught you to guard your heart so carefully that connection became difficult, I am bringing people who will honor your trust and value your vulnerability. Friends who will celebrate your successes without jealousy. Partners who will support your dreams without trying to control your direction. Family members who will appreciate your growth instead of resenting your changes. In your health, where symptoms convinced you that wellness was luxury you could not afford, restoration is taking place at cellular levels that will surprise medical professionals who observe your progress. Energy that was depleted through years of stress is being renewed. Strength that was compromised by emotional burdens is being restored. Mental clarity that was clouded by anxiety is becoming sharp and focused. In your career, where closed doors suggested that advancement was not available for someone with your background, opportunities are being arranged that will utilize gifts you thought no one valued. Positions are opening that require exactly the combination of skills and experience that your unique journey has provided. Leadership roles are being prepared that will benefit from the wisdom you gained through surviving challenges that would have crushed people with less resilience. In your purpose, where confusion made you wonder if you were meant for anything significant, clarity is emerging that will reveal assignments specifically designed for someone with your particular combination of passions and abilities. Missions that will fulfill you while making impact that extends far beyond your immediate circle. Callings that will utilize every painful experience you survived by transforming them into platforms for helping others find freedom from similar struggles. That difficult time was developing strength. Consider how master craftsmen create their most valuable pieces. Raw materials that appear ordinary or even damaged become treasures in hands of artisans who understand how to work with what they have been given. Wood that contains knots and irregularities becomes furniture with character and beauty that exceeds pieces made from perfect materials. Metals that require intense heat and pressure to reach their potential become tools and ornaments that serve purposes for generations. During seasons when you felt broken and useless, I was working as master craftsman with raw material of your life. Every crack that pain created became groove where strength could settle more deeply. Every irregular pattern that trauma left behind became unique characteristic that would make you valuable for purposes that require someone who understands what survival costs. Every scar that remained after healing took place became proof of my ability to restore what was damaged. You are not damaged goods being sold at discount prices. You are handcrafted masterpiece being prepared for purposes that require exactly the combination of strength and sensitivity that only someone who has endured and overcome what you have endured and overcome could provide. Every trial was building spiritual strength. Enemy tried to convince you that pain was evidence of punishment, but pain was actually evidence of preparation. Every trial that tested your faith was strengthening faith muscles that will enable you to believe for impossibilities without wavering. Every disappointment that broke your heart was expanding your capacity to receive blessings larger than anything you previously thought possible. Every rejection that made you feel unwanted was protecting you from connections that would have limited your potential. During times when you wondered if I was angry with you or had forgotten about you, I was actually working closer to your situation than I had ever worked before. When healing seemed delayed beyond reasonable timing, I was ensuring that restoration would be complete and permanent, rather than temporary and partial. When answers appeared to be nowhere in sight, I was arranging circumstances that would provide solutions better than anything you thought to ask for. Your prayers during desperate seasons carried power that moved mountains in spiritual realms, even when you saw no evidence of movement in physical circumstances. Your worship during painful times created atmospheric shifts that opened heavens over your life and prepared space for blessings that were too large for previous spiritual environments to contain. Your continued faith during seasons of testing impressed angelic beings and caused demons to flee from assignments they had been given to destroy your destiny. Each painful experience developed strength. Now watch what happens as construction phase transitions into occupation phase. Doors that have been locked for generations will swing open at your approach. Opportunities that seemed reserved for people with different qualifications will become available to you. Resources that appeared to flow only toward certain types of people will begin flowing in your direction. Favor will rest on your life in ways that make it obvious to everyone around you that supernatural forces are working on your behalf. Timing of events will align so perfectly that coincidence will not be adequate explanation for what people observe happening in your circumstances. Provision will arrive from such unexpected sources that credit will have to be given to divine intervention rather than human planning or effort. Relationships that bless you will replace relationships that drained you. Work that fulfills you will replace work that exhausted you. Living situations that bring you peace will replace living situations that created constant stress. Financial arrangements that support your dreams will replace financial burdens that crushed your hope. All that grief was forging strength. People will notice changes in your countenance before you tell them anything about what has been happening in your life. Peace that guards your expressions will contrast sharply with anxiety that marks faces of people around you who are still fighting battles you have learned to win. Confidence that characterizes your responses to challenges will inspire others who observe how you handle pressure that once would have overwhelmed you. When they ask you to explain transformation they see, you will tell them about seasons that felt like punishment, but were actually preparation. About trials that seemed designed to break you, but were designed to build you. About tests that appeared to prove your inadequacy, but proved my sufficiency. About waiting periods that felt like delays, but were actually perfect timing for developing character that could handle what was being prepared. Your testimony will give permission to people who had accepted limitation to begin expecting breakthrough. Your example will convince observers that impossible situations can change. Your peace will create hunger in hearts that have been surviving on anxiety and worry. Your joy will remind spirits that have forgotten how to celebrate that reasons for gladness still exist. Every hardship built unbreakable strength. Authority that flows through your life now extends beyond personal breakthrough into generational transformation. Patterns that have limited your family line for decades lose power when they encounter faith that has been tested and proven unbreakable. Curses that have affected bloodline for generations break when they meet someone who operates from position of blessing rather than position of defeat. Children and grandchildren you may never meet will benefit from choices you are making during this season of transition. Opportunities that your descendants will enjoy will exist because courage you demonstrated during difficult times opened pathways that had been closed to your family for generations. Blessings that will flow to future generations will be possible because endurance you showed during testing created spiritual infrastructure to support abundance rather than scarcity. Your willingness to trust me when trusting made no logical sense created legal precedent in spiritual courts that will protect and provide for your lineage in ways they will never fully understand. Your refusal to quit when quitting seemed reasonable established spiritual authority that will break destructive cycles and establish constructive patterns for generations to come. Those painful times built strength. Now I want you to understand something about the speed with which things will begin to change in your visible circumstances. After years of feeling like progress was too slow or non-existent, acceleration is coming that will make up for every delay you endured. Breakthroughs will happen so rapidly that you will struggle to keep up with divine arrangements being made on your behalf. Answers that took years to arrive will be followed by answers that come within weeks. Doors that required persistent knocking will be followed by doors that open before you finish approaching them. Provision that demanded constant prayer will be followed by provision that flows without your having to ask. Relationships that required intense effort to maintain will be followed by relationships that thrive through mutual support and genuine compatibility. This acceleration will feel overwhelming at times because your spirit became accustomed to operating at survival pace during construction phases. Learning to receive at abundance pace during occupation phases will require adjustment period while you adapt to blessing instead of burden being your normal experience. Peace instead of pressure becoming your daily reality will feel strange until new patterns establish themselves. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. During transition from construction to occupation, you will discover that capabilities you thought you had lost during difficult seasons were actually being preserved and enhanced in preparation for this phase of your life. Creative gifts that seemed dormant will awaken with power and sophistication that exceeds anything you experienced before trials began. Leadership abilities that appeared to diminish during seasons when you could barely manage your own life will emerge stronger and wiser than they ever were. Intellectual capacity that felt clouded by pain and worry will become sharp and clear in ways that enable you to solve problems and understand concepts that once seemed beyond your reach. Emotional intelligence that was buried under protective walls will surface with sensitivity and wisdom that allows you to navigate complex relational dynamics without losing your peace or compromising your boundaries. Physical energy that was depleted by stress and struggle will be restored in measure that enables you to pursue goals and maintain commitments that require sustained effort over extended periods. Spiritual sensitivity that was numbed by disappointment will become acute enough to discern divine guidance in situations where other people can only guess about right choices. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Final fortress wall I want to show you contains records of every time you chose to continue when continuing seemed impossible. Every morning you got up when staying in bed felt like only reasonable option. Every day you completed necessary tasks when motivation was completely absent. Every night you chose hope instead of despair. when hope required more faith than you thought you possessed. Each choice to persevere when perseverance demanded supernatural strength created deposits in spiritual account that will provide resources for rest of your life. Every decision to trust when trusting felt dangerous built confidence in my faithfulness that will anchor you during future seasons when circumstances challenge your faith. Every act of kindness you offered when you felt too wounded to care for others stored treasure in heavenly places that will be returned to you multiplied. Every prayer you prayed when praying seemed pointless created communication pathway between your spirit and my throne that will remain open and active for rest of your earthly life and throughout eternity. Every song you sang when singing required discipline rather than inclination tuned your spirit to frequency of heaven that will enable you to hear my voice with clarity that exceeds anything you have experienced before. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Let me tell you about specific breakthrough manifestations that are beginning to appear in various areas of your life right now. In your family relationships, conversations that have been strained for years will begin to flow with new understanding and mutual respect. Relatives who seemed impossible to communicate with will become approachable. Family gatherings that created anxiety will become sources of joy. Generational patterns of dysfunction will be replaced by patterns of health and blessing. In your professional environment, recognition for your contributions will come from sources you never expected to notice your work. Advancement opportunities will present themselves in rapid succession. Collaboration requests will arrive from people whose expertise will enhance your own capabilities. Financial compensation will increase to levels that reflect true value of what you bring to your responsibilities. In your spiritual development, clarity about your purpose will emerge with specificity that removes confusion about direction you should pursue. Gifts that have been dormant will activate with power that enables you to minister effectively to people who need exactly what you have been equipped to provide. Intimacy with my presence will deepen to levels that make my guidance unmistakable in every situation requiring wisdom. In your physical health, energy will return to levels you have not experienced for years. Sleep will become restorative rather than restless. Appetite will normalize in ways that support optimal nutrition without requiring complicated dietary restrictions. Exercise will become enjoyable rather than burdensome. Medical reports will show improvement that surprises healthcare providers. In your emotional well-being, peace will replace anxiety as your default internal state. Joy will emerge spontaneously rather than requiring deliberate cultivation. Hope will feel natural rather than forced. Optimism about your future will replace pessimism that has characterized your expectations. Confidence in my goodness will become unshakable regardless of temporary circumstances. In your living environment, space will become available that better suits your needs and preferences. Financial arrangements will develop that make desired changes possible without creating overwhelming debt. Neighbors will become sources of blessing rather than stress. Safety and security will characterize your residential experience. Beauty will surround you in ways that inspire creativity and peace. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Now I want to address fears that may be arising as you consider possibility that breakthrough is actually happening in your life. Fear that blessings will be temporary and will disappear as quickly as they arrived. Fear that you will somehow sabotage good things through mistakes or character flaws that have not been fully healed. Fear that other people will resent your success and create opposition that will steal your peace, even if external circumstances improve. These fears are normal responses to transition from seasons of difficulty to seasons of blessing. Anyone who has survived prolonged challenges develops protective mechanisms that make rapid change feel dangerous, even when change is positive. Your spirit learned to expect disappointment as a way of avoiding surprise when good things did not materialize. Your mind developed habits of looking for problems as a way of staying prepared for next crisis. But fears that protected you during construction phases will limit you during occupation phases if you allow them to control your responses to breakthrough opportunities. Learning to receive blessing requires different mental and emotional skills than learning to endure hardship. Transitioning from survival mode to thriving mode demands adjustment period, while new patterns establish themselves. I want to assure you that breakthrough I am manifesting in your life is not temporary reward for good behavior that will be withdrawn when you make next mistake. It flows from covenant relationship that cannot be broken by human failure. It springs from my character rather than from your performance. It grows from my nature rather than from your worthiness. Nothing you could do would earn it. Nothing you could do would deserve to lose it. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Regarding fear that other people will resent your success, understand that reactions of others to your blessing reveal content of their own hearts rather than reality about whether you deserve what you are receiving. People who are secure in my love for them will celebrate your victories because they understand that my resources are infinite and your blessing does not diminish what is available for them. People who are insecure about their own standing will sometimes respond to your advancement with jealousy or criticism. Their responses cannot change what I have determined to do in your life. Their opinions cannot alter spiritual laws that govern how blessing flows to people who maintain faith during testing seasons. Their attitudes cannot stop divine arrangements that have been set in motion on your behalf. Their words cannot cancel promises I have made regarding your future. However, wisdom in how you respond to various reactions will preserve your peace and potentially open doorways for ministry to people whose hearts are hungry but whose minds are confused about how divine blessing operates. Humility about your breakthrough, combined with confidence in my goodness, will position you to be instrument of healing for people who struggle with jealousy or bitterness about their own unresolved situations. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Let me address another concern that may be emerging as you contemplate magnitude of change that is beginning in your life. Fear that increased responsibility that comes with greater blessing will overwhelm capacity you have for managing complexity. Fear that success will create demands on your time and energy that will steal joy from experiences you hoped would bring happiness. This fear also grows from protective patterns developed during difficult seasons. When resources were scarce and energy was limited, every opportunity required careful evaluation to determine whether potential benefits justified required investments. When strength was depleted and options were few, saying yes to anything new felt dangerous because it might consume what little capacity remained for handling essential responsibilities. But blessings I provide come with supernatural grace to manage them well. Opportunities I open come with divine wisdom to navigate them successfully. Responsibilities I assign come with divine strength to fulfill them excellently. Resources I provide come with divine intelligence to steward them wisely. You will not be given more than you can handle when you are handling it in partnership with my Spirit, rather than depending entirely on your own abilities. Moreover, success that flows from my hand brings fulfillment rather than exhaustion. Work that aligns with your divine design energizes rather than drains. Relationships that operate according to my principles add strength rather than requiring strength. Financial abundance that comes from my blessing creates freedom rather than bondage. Recognition that acknowledges gifts I have placed in you builds confidence rather than pressure. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. I want to tell you about ripple effects your breakthrough will create in lives of other people. When you walk in freedom from fears that once controlled you, people who struggle with similar fears will observe that liberation is possible and begin seeking their own deliverance. When you demonstrate peace during circumstances that create anxiety for others, they will want to understand the source of your stability and become open to discovering my presence in their own situations. When financial pressure no longer controls your decisions, people who are trapped in scarcity mindsets will see evidence that abundance is available and begin questioning limitations they have accepted. When relationships in your life become healthy and supportive, people surrounded by dysfunction will recognize that different patterns are possible and start expecting better treatment from others while offering better treatment themselves. When your career becomes a source of fulfillment rather than frustration, people who hate their work will realize that purpose-driven employment exists and begin asking for guidance about discovering their own callings. When your health improves through combination of natural wisdom and supernatural intervention, people who struggle with chronic conditions will gain hope that healing is available and start seeking both medical help and spiritual breakthrough. When your family relationships experience restoration after years of strain, people whose families are divided will believe that reconciliation is possible and begin praying and working toward healing in their own bloodlines. When your living situation becomes a source of peace rather than stress, people trapped in environments that drain them will recognize that change is possible and take steps toward creating better circumstances. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Now, I want to prepare you for specific types of opposition that may arise as breakthrough accelerates in your life. Enemy who worked so hard to convince you that change was impossible will not quietly accept evidence that transformation is happening. Spiritual forces that invested years in keeping you trapped will attempt to create confusion, doubt, or distraction that might cause you to retreat from breakthrough that is manifesting. Opposition may come through people who question whether changes in your life are genuine or sustainable. Voices that suggest you are being naive or unrealistic about expecting good things to continue. Comments that predict you will eventually return to previous patterns of struggle. Warnings that you should not get your hopes up too high because disappointment is inevitable. Opposition may come through circumstances that seem designed to test whether faith you developed during difficult seasons will remain strong during seasons of blessing. Unexpected challenges that require you to demonstrate trust in my continued goodness. Situations that demand perseverance, even when perseverance no longer feels necessary for survival. Opportunities that require risk-taking after you have become comfortable with security. Opposition may come through internal voices that whisper you do not deserve blessing you are receiving. Thoughts that suggest breakthrough is temporary anomaly that will end when you make next mistake. Emotions that create guilt about enjoying good things when other people are still suffering. Mental patterns that look for problems even when problems do not exist. Recognizing these forms of opposition as enemy strategy rather than accurate assessment of reality will enable you to maintain breakthrough momentum rather than allowing doubt to steal what has been gained. Understanding that resistance is confirmation of significance of what is happening rather than evidence that nothing is really changing will strengthen your resolve to continue advancing rather than retreating to familiar patterns of limitation. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Finally, I want to give you specific instructions for maintaining and increasing breakthrough that is manifesting in your life. First, develop daily practices that keep your spirit connected to my presence, regardless of what is happening in external circumstances. Breakthrough flows from intimacy, not from perfect behavior or ideal conditions. Time spent in my presence each day will provide wisdom for navigating both opportunities and challenges with grace. Second, maintain gratitude as dominant attitude, regardless of whether current circumstances meet all your expectations. Thankfulness for what has already been received creates atmosphere that attracts more blessing. Appreciation for breakthrough already manifested positions your heart to recognize and receive breakthrough that is still developing. Celebration of progress already made generates faith for progress still to come. Third, remain humble about your role in creating positive changes in your life. Breakthrough flows from my grace, working through your faith, not from your efforts alone. Taking credit for what my power has accomplished will limit your capacity to receive what my power wants to accomplish. Acknowledging my hand in your blessing will keep your heart open to receive more blessing. Fourth, use your testimony wisely to encourage others without creating pressure or guilt in people whose breakthrough has not yet manifested. Share your story in ways that point people toward my goodness, rather than toward comparison with your experience. Celebrate what I have done for you while maintaining sensitivity to what others are still trusting me to do. Fifth, continue growing in areas where development is still needed, rather than assuming that breakthrough in some areas means growth is complete. Blessing does not eliminate need for continued character development, relational skills, or spiritual maturity. Success in external circumstances provides platform for deeper internal transformation rather than excuse to stop pursuing personal growth. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Everything I have told you leads to this declaration. Your time has come. Not in some distant future when conditions become more favorable. Not after you prove yourself worthy through perfect behavior or spiritual achievement. Now, while you listen to these words, while truth penetrates every area where deception has been making its home, while my presence fills every space where emptiness has been defining your experience, chains break now. Fear leaves now. Healing flows now. Doors open now. Blessing comes now. Victory manifests now. Strength that was built during sorrow becomes power that produces breakthrough now. Stand up in authority that has been developing in secret places. Walk forward in confidence that was forged through trials. Speak with voice that carries power, earned through perseverance. Live from position of victory that was secured through your willingness to trust me when trust cost you everything you thought you needed to feel secure. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. As you step into this new chapter of your life, remember that everything difficult you endured was preparing you for everything beautiful that is about to unfold. Every tear you cried was watering seeds of joy that will bloom in your future. Every fear you faced was building courage that will serve you when you encounter opportunities that require boldness. Every wound you survived was creating compassion that will enable you to minister healing to others who carry similar pain. I am proud of how you persevered through seasons when perseverance felt impossible. I am honored by your willingness to trust me when trusting required faith beyond what seemed reasonable. I am moved by your determination to continue believing in my goodness even when circumstances suggested that belief was naive. Your faithfulness during testing seasons has qualified you for blessing seasons that will exceed everything you dared to hope. Your endurance through trials has prepared you for triumphs that will inspire multitudes. Your persistence through difficulties has positioned you for divine appointments that will change lives beyond your ability to imagine. Walk forward now with confidence that comes from knowing you are backed by unlimited divine resources. Speak with authority that flows from intimate relationship developed through years of learning to hear my voice in every circumstance. Live with joy that springs from understanding that your best days are not behind you, but ahead of you. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength. Now watch your strength become victory that transforms not only your life, but the lives of everyone you touch with my love. Remember this truth every time enemy tries to convince you that your breakthrough is temporary or that you do not deserve blessing you are receiving. Remember this truth when people question whether changes in your life are genuine. Remember this truth when circumstances test your faith during seasons of transition. Remember this truth when you face new challenges that require you to demonstrate trust you developed during difficult seasons. Remember this truth when you encounter opportunities that demand courage you built through surviving situations that seemed designed to defeat you. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength, and your season of strength is becoming your season of supernatural victory that will echo through generations. What was impossible yesterday becomes inevitable today because your faith has been tested and proven unbreakable. What seemed delayed beyond reasonable timing arrives at perfect divine timing because my plans are always superior to human schedules. What appeared closed forever opens wide because keys you earned through perseverance unlock doors that seemed permanently sealed. Everything changes now because you have changed through seasons that felt like they were changing you for the worse, but were actually changing you for the better. Your breakthrough becomes unstoppable because your character became unshakable during seasons that tested every foundation you thought you could depend on, proving that my strength is sufficient for every challenge you will ever face. Victory is yours. Freedom is yours. Blessing is yours. Joy is yours. Peace is yours. Strength is yours. Provision is yours. Healing is yours. Restoration is yours. Authority is yours. Wisdom is yours. Grace is yours. Divine favor is yours. All because you belong to me. And I have prepared these gifts specifically for someone who would trust me through seasons when trusting me seemed unreasonable. But you did it anyway, demonstrating faith that moved my heart. You are my beloved child, and everything I have is yours completely and eternally, because you chose faith over fear, hope over despair, trust over doubt, and love over bitterness during seasons when making these choices required supernatural courage that came from intimacy with my heart, developed through years of learning to find me in every circumstance, whether circumstances seemed good or bad. Your season of sorrow was always your season of strength, and your season of strength is now your season of unstoppable divine breakthrough that will demonstrate my power and my love to everyone who witnesses what I am doing in your life. Nations will be blessed through your faithful obedience. Families will be healed through your testimony. Businesses will prosper through your leadership. Communities will be transformed through your influence. Churches will be revived through your faith. Hearts will be opened through your genuine compassion. Lives will be saved through your witness. Souls will be delivered through your prayers. Generations will be impacted through your legacy. History will be changed through your willingness to trust me when trusting me cost you everything you thought you needed to feel secure, but gave you everything you actually needed to become who I created you to be from the foundation of the world. Your name is written in my book of remembrance as someone who feared my name and thought upon my name during seasons when doing so required more faith than seemed humanly possible. Your story is recorded in heavenly archives as testimony to my faithfulness that will encourage saints throughout eternity. Your choices during difficult seasons created precedents in spiritual courts that will benefit multitudes of people who will face similar challenges in generations to come. Your prayers during dark nights opened pathways of divine intervention that will be available for people who learn to call upon my name with same persistence and sincerity you demonstrated when answers seemed impossible. Your worship during painful seasons shifted spiritual atmospheres in ways that will make breakthrough easier for others who choose to praise me through their own difficult circumstances. Your faith during testing seasons moved mountains in invisible realms that were blocking blessing for entire communities and regions. Everything you endured served purposes far beyond your personal development and preparation. You were participating in cosmic battles between light and darkness, and your victory has implications that extend throughout both time and eternity. Well done, good and faithful servant. Well done, overcomer, who refused to quit when quitting seemed reasonable. Well done, warrior who fought battles that no one else could see, and won victories that will benefit people you will never meet. Well done, faithful child, who maintained hope when hope required courage, that came from believing in my goodness, despite evidence that suggested believing was foolish. Well done, beautiful soul, who chose to trust my character when circumstances challenged everything you thought you understood about how I operate in difficult situations. Well done, precious heart, who decided to keep loving when love had been wounded and rejected and betrayed, until loving again seemed like choosing to be hurt again. Well done, magnificent spirit, who persevered through seasons that would have destroyed people, with less inner strength developed through intimacy with my heart during years of learning to find me in every situation, whether situations seemed to confirm my presence or seemed to suggest my absence. Amen. If this message touched your heart, please share it with someone who needs to hear these words today. Your obedience to share could be the exact breakthrough someone else has been praying for. Type Amen in the comments to receive this blessing, and let me know in the comments which part of this message spoke most powerfully to your situation. I love hearing from you and knowing how these words are working in your life. Subscribe for daily messages of hope and encouragement that will strengthen your faith and remind you of your true identity as my beloved child. Ring the notification bell so you never miss a word. I want to speak directly to your heart. Share this video with family members, friends, co-workers, and anyone in your social circles who might be walking through difficult seasons and needs to understand that their struggles are actually developing spiritual strength that will serve them for lifetime. Click the like button to help this message reach more people who need to hear that their season of sorrow was always their season of strength.